Hello, and welcome back to Fair Fight, North Carolina. I'm your host, Bobby Jones, once again joined by the great Scott Peoples. Scott, I want to bring up something that actually affects North Carolinians a lot, and that is mail in balloting. And President Trump this week has said that he's going to try to stop mail in balloting as much as possible. Can you just talk a little bit about why in the state of North Carolina that would be a significant issue?
Absolutely, Bobby. Thank you. Yeah, first of all, it just is over the last few weeks another just glaring data point on the attack on voting rights overall from the Trump administration. When you add that with what's going on with the gerrymandering fight in Texas, they are clearly, worried about the midterms, see how unpopular their agenda is, and are, openly signaling that they're gonna, not change, what they're doing to try and make themselves more popular with the people, but they're going to do everything they can to rig the system to their favor via gerrymandering or trying voter suppression tactics like with this mail-in balloting executive order. So this is also perfectly in line with what happened last year in the November election and the state Supreme Court race here. Anyone in North Carolina that follows it knows well that the state party here, along with the national party, already spent months trying to attack overseas voters and military ballots that voted for the Allison Riggs, who ended up after 6 months of fights in court winning her race. But
Hmm.
that's part of the tactics now. I think they're willing to post election, whether or not this goes forward, and they're able to take mail-in ballots away as a voting way of voting in 2026, and they're going to try. If they don't, then they're going to blame Democrats winning on the fact that there was mail-in ballots, and then they're going to challenge it in the courts. And if it takes months and months, and they're not going to, seat Democratic officials that won their races, and people got to strap in. It's going to get ugly. It's going to get messy, and it's going to require a lot of civic participation. And also, like I said, another thing where it just shows how much the party has just totally changed, done a 180 under Donald Trump. Myself being a former Republican, under Karl Rove and the Bush administration, they were the
Hmm.
champions of mail-in voting, which is great. I mean, they were, they used, they wanted to expand early voting and mail-in voting, and then they went out and they got their people to vote in various ways. George Bush never would have been elected, especially in Florida, without their mail-in voting operation. So the fact that now they've done a 180 and they see it as a crime against democracy is just something that's jarring and shocking. That in the year 2025, I want to take away when we should be going easier to vote with all the technology we
Right.
have. Some countries are voting on their phones now, and we're trying to go back to paper ballots, and you're going to have a bunch of people in their 70s counting paper ballots one by one,
Right.
and they think that's going to be a more efficient way to vote. So it's shocking and another attack on our democracy that's just shameful.
It's scary because, as you mentioned, George W. Bush, Karl Rove, they pushed it. They pushed for mail-in ballots because it allowed rural Americans to vote easier. Didn't have to go as far to find a polling place. And the whole point of this democracy is supposed to be easier to vote. But when you're not sure that your ideas can compete, you try to restrict who gets to vote. And that is obvious. And so now what we're seeing is a restriction of access with the hope of policies that are not popular from the majority being passed because those people's votes don't count. And the fact that active duty servicemen and women will be affected more, proportionally, way more
Yep.
than any other demographic in America, really just highlights just how the current administration feels about its military. They see them as just tools, weapons, pawns. They don't care about their rights to do what every a citizen should want to do and vote in their elections with relative ease.
100%, right on the nail.
Yeah,
It's
it
authoritarian.
just getting to yeah, exactly. It's an authoritarian tactic, and I guess the thing that I would tell people is, hey, make sure that you let not just your Congress people know, but your local state reps know, because here's the deal. the states control how they run their elections, not the federal government. So even if Trump does do this from an executive order standpoint, it should be easily struck down in court because states control elections. That's what the Constitution says.
You said it perfectly. I agree.
Well, Scott, thanks again for joining us. Again, we'll keep following things that happen in North Carolina and abroad, and try to keep you informed and give you some realistic historical takes. Thanks for listening, guys.
Thank you.